Hey everyone, welcome back to NDC. If you've deployed a site to GitHub Pages, you've probably noticed your URL looks something like this, yourname.github.io. It works, but it doesn't exactly scream professional, does it? Today, I'm walking you through the complete process of connecting your own custom domain to GitHub Pages. We'll configure GitHub settings, set up DNS records, and troubleshoot the most common errors you'll encounter, as well as enable HTTPS. Before we start, you'll need two things. The first is a GitHub Pages site already deployed. If you haven't done that yet, I'll link my deployment tutorial in the description. The second thing you'll need is a custom domain already purchased from any registrar. Domains typically cost $10 to $15 per year unless you're going for something a little bit more premium. Let's go ahead and get your site looking professional. Why bother with a custom domain? If you're building a portfolio, a custom domain is the difference between looking like a student project and looking like a professional. Beyond appearances, you get real SEO benefits. Search engines treat custom domains as more authoritative. You're also building your personal brand. People remember your domain.com way easier than they remember your GitHub username .github.io, right? Here's also the big one. If you own your URL, if you ever migrate away from GitHub Pages to something like Netlify, Vercel, or your own server, your audience doesn't even know. Your domain stays the same. You just point it somewhere else. Cost is also generally minimal. Most domains run from $10 to $15. Let's go ahead and look up some prices for maybe cool dev guy. I'm just using Namecheap, but there's hundreds of sites that also do this, like GoDaddy. So if we wanted the cool dev guy.cool, it's only about $6 a year. If we scroll down, the .dev one is about $13 per year. Now these prices will vary if you have something that's a little bit more contested. One important note is that GitHub Pages is free, but these custom domains with HTTPS require you to let GitHub manage your SSL certificates through Let's Encrypt. This happens automatically, but it means you can't use certain advanced DNS configurations like CNAME flattening on some registrars. We can work around this though. All right, let's go ahead and go back to our GitHub Pages and configure it first, then tackle DNS. Pull up your GitHub repository that's currently serving your Pages site. Click on Settings in the top navigation. Scroll down the left sidebar until you see Pages. You'll see our current site is published, my username.github.io. Right below this, we have the custom domain here. This is where we'll add your domain. Don't fill it in yet. We need to configure DNS first, or GitHub will actually throw an error. Here's what happens behind the scenes when you add a custom domain. GitHub creates a file called CNAME in your repository root. That file contains one line, your custom domain. GitHub servers read this file to know which domain should serve your content. Below the custom domain field, we can see we have enforce HTTPS. This should be on by default or always checked. This enforces all traffic to secure HTTPS connections instead of insecure HTTP. In 2026, this is a non-negotiable for any professional sites. Browsers will literally warn visitors if you don't have HTTPS enabled. Let's go ahead and leave this page open in a tab. We'll come back here after DNS is configured. The workflow is set up DNS first, add domain to GitHub, then we'll do some testing. Might just have to wait for verification too. The next step we need to do is using the docs of GitHub is actually manage our custom domain for our Pages site. So we need to be accessing the DNS. What does DNS stand for? Well, essentially it's the domain name system. You can think of it like the internet's phone book. When someone types your domain name into a browser, DNS tells their computer which server to connect to. GitHub actually provides us with 4 IP addresses for their Pages server. I'll link these in the description below so you don't have to type all of these out. Essentially, these are load balanced, meaning traffic gets distributed across multiple servers for reliability. You'll add all 4 as separate A records. We now need to go to our domain provider. Like I said, I used Namecheap, but there's tons of these, even Cloudflare or GoDaddy. The interface might look different, but the process is the same. Under your domain, you'll need to access the advanced DNS. On some websites, this may be called configure DNS. This is where all of our DNS records live. You'll see some records already there by default, but we're going to actually add some new ones. On my end, I'm going to press the add new record, and we're going to choose the A record. We're going to set the host to be the @ symbol. The @ symbol means your root domain. We're then going to set the value to the first GitHub IP. Again, I'll have these in the description below. I'm just going to copy and paste these in. This can stay at automatic. You'll then want to save this, so we can press the check mark here. From here, we're going to repeat the process for the remaining 3. So once again, a record, host is the @ symbol, and we'll grab the second IP address. Paste it in, leave it as automatic, and save those changes. Okay, I've added all 4. Now for the CNAME record for www. We're once again going to add a new record, and we're going to choose the CNAME record here. The host is going to be www. For the value where we have our target, this is going to be your GitHub Pages URL. So whatever your username.github.io is, with a period at the end. So for example, mine is ndcswift.github.io. I'm actually just going to copy and paste this. And then at the very end, we would add that period. Let's go ahead and add that check mark. The period at the end is technically optional on services like Namecheap, but some registrars require it because it denotes a fully qualified domain name. If your registrar throws an error without the period, go ahead and add it. Make sure you save everything, and the DNS should now be configured. This process, again, I just showed Namecheap, but this process should be global across other hosting services like Cloudflare and GoDaddy. If you are using Cloudflare, you might just need to declare as an IPv4 with proxy off. Okay, back to our GitHub pages. Now that our DNS is configured, we're going to paste the domain into the custom domain field. So mine was toolbit.dev. Let's go ahead and paste it into the custom domain. Just as a note, I'm going with the Apex name, which doesn't have the www prefix. If you are going with the www, you'll want to put it like so. Otherwise, I want the Apex. Okay, and GitHub has immediately checked my DNS records. If everything is configured correctly, we can see that the check is in progress. Oh, and there we go. We have the green check mark. If you see an error like DNS check failed or domain DNS record could not be retrieved, your DNS hasn't propagated yet. DNS propagation is the process of your DNS changes spreading across the internet's DNS servers. This can potentially take anywhere from 15 minutes to 48 hours. Though generally it's under an hour. Once you also have this DNS check successful, we'll actually have a new file in our repository root. So in my repository root, we can see we actually have the CNAME file here. This confirms that GitHub has linked our domain. Just as a note, on the pages settings, we go down here, it may have unchecked the enforce HTTPS. If this isn't clickable, you may need to wait some time, anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes, but in some few cases, it may take 24 hours. If it's available to click, you should be good to go. If it's not clickable, just come back until it is. If it shows a warning, you may need to handle it appropriately. So we should be good to go. It says our site is live. Let's go ahead and visit that site. And there we go. I have my custom domain, toolbit.dev, and all of my pages work perfectly. All right, let's talk a little bit about troubleshooting some common errors. The first error is the domain's DNS record could not be retrieved. Essentially, this means that GitHub could not find your DNS records. Double check your A records. Make sure all 4 of these IPs must be correct with the host set to the @ symbol. So if we look at here, host @ and then those values. You may also want to wait at least 30 minutes after changing DNS before doing any panicking. Again, use the DNS checker or whatsmydns.net to confirm any propagation. If records look correct but GitHub still can't see them, try removing the domain from GitHub, waiting 5 minutes, and then re-adding it. Another error you may encounter is the HTTPS not enforcing. If this checkbox down here is stuck at gray or shows a warning, the Let's Encrypt hasn't issued your certificate yet. This can be normal, wait up to 24 hours. If it's been longer than 24 hours, remove your custom domain from GitHub, wait 5 minutes, re-add it, and wait another few hours, and you should be good to go. Another error you may have is an old site might still be showing. This is just due to a browser cache. You can hold Shift while pressing the refresh button to do a hard refresh, or you can do Control-Shift-R on Windows. If that doesn't work, you may need to clear your browser cache entirely, or you can always test in an incognito or private window. Let's say you're getting the 404 error on a custom domain. Something I would check for is in your GitHub repo root here, make sure that this CNAME file exists within the repository root. If you created it manually instead of through GitHub settings, verify it only contains your domain with no extra lines or spaces. In my case, it's just toolbit.dev. If you have a certificate warning, sometimes in the browser at the top, you'll have a warning saying your connection is not private. This is just because Let's Encrypt provisioning is still in progress. You might just need to wait a few hours. If this lasts for beyond 24 hours, remove your custom domain and then re-add it in GitHub settings. A lot of the issues that may occur with pages with the HTTPS or DNS configuration are often just resolved with patience. These provisionings are typically not instant, just give it some time. So congratulations, if you followed the steps and you have no remaining errors or no errors to begin with, your GitHub Pages is now live on your custom domain with HTTPS. You've configured your DNS records, you've enabled those secure connections, your site looks professional, and you own this URL. So where should you go from here? Well, consider adding Google Analytics to track visitors, optimize your site for SEO, or explore custom 404 pages. As a reminder, the GitHub Pages IP address and all the commands I used are in the description. I've also linked to the DNS propagation checkers and the official GitHub Pages documentation. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe for more videos, and dream big, code bigger, and we'll see you in the next one.